it took us a really, really long time to understand something fundamental. That our future, it isn't something you just find. It's something you have to build. And the blueprint, the actual architecture for a better world, was hidden in the one place we never thought to look, our arguments. We learned that the tools to build a society that doesn't just fracture and break apart weren't in some grand new policy. They were in the quiet moments between two people just trying to understand each other. And it all started with one single idea. When Mako Matsumoto was asked what the secret was to her 81-year marriage, her answer was so simple, it was almost jarring. Patience. Just that one word. It feels so small, doesn't it? But it's the key. It's the key that unlocks this profound truth that the real secret to connection, to bridging any divide, isn't some big, heroic gesture. Nope. It's a quiet, continuous practice. It's the decision, moment by moment, to just wait, to listen, and to try and understand. And we all face this decision every single day. Every argument, every little bit of tension, it's a choice. For the longest time, we saw conflict as a total disaster, a sign that everything was broken. But we eventually learned to see it for what it really is. It's a crossroad. One path, well, that one leads to blame, to resentment, to disconnection. But the other path, the one that takes a little more of that patience, that one leads to real understanding, to actual growth. So let's talk about that future, the one that's built on trust. It all begins with learning how to choose the right path at that crossroad. And the skills you need, they're not complex. They're actually pretty simple, but they are absolutely transformative. And this, right here, is the blueprint for how we learn to build it, one conversation at a time. Okay, first things first. The first thing we had to master was just being proactive. We realized it's so much easier to prevent a crisis than to try and clean one up afterwards. And that means learning how to decode the subtle little signs that a conversation is starting to shift from something constructive to something, well, destructive. So what are we looking for? It starts with the physical stuff. You know how someone's voice just changes? It gets a little higher, maybe a little faster. Or you see their fists clench, their whole body gets stiff, they start interrupting, or their questions stop feeling curious and start feeling like an interrogation. There's this shift you can actually feel in the air, that feeling of frustration. When you learn to spot these signs early, you get the power to change course before you're both swept away by the storm. All right, so you can see the storm clouds gathering. Now what? This is where we get to the really powerful stuff. Choosing your words with intention. We discovered that the right language doesn't just describe what's happening. It can literally change it. How we speak becomes just as critical as what we say. This shift right here is a total game changer. Look at the language of blame on the left. You're always. It's an attack, plain and simple. And it immediately puts the other person on the defensive. But now look at the language of feeling on the right. I feel angry when. That is not an accusation. It's a revelation. You're sharing what's happening inside of you, and that invites empathy, not a counterattack. You're talking about you, not judging them. And this is the perfect next step. A complaint like, "You never help," where does that go? Nowhere. It's a dead end, focused on the past. But a request, "Would you be willing to?" That's an opening. It looks to the future. It's collaborative. It turns a problem into a shared project and gives the other person a real choice to say yes. So here's what it all comes down to. Shifting from judgment to talking about what you really need. Calling a decision irresponsible, that's just a character attack. But explaining, "I need to feel secure," now you're getting to the heart of it. You're connecting their action to your real, fundamental need. And that's the goal. When we talk about our needs for security, respect, connection, we stop fighting about the surface stuff and start understanding the deep currents that are actually driving us. And once you change the language, you change the entire dynamic. You can actually step out of that toxic cycle of blame and accusation, and you can move into a whole new phase, building a solution, together. And this process, it's actually beautifully simple, because the goal is no longer to win, it's to understand. So first, you just gather information, and I mean information, not ammunition. You listen to understand their needs, not just to argue back. Then, you brainstorm solutions together. It becomes us against the problem, not you against me. And finally, you find a solution that's a win for both of you. It might not be exactly what either of you first wanted, but it's something you both created and you both own. Now, holding all of that together are these 3 guiding principles. They're the foundation. Be calm, just breathe. You have to regulate your own emotions first. Be patient. Remember Mako Matsumoto? This stuff takes time. And maybe the most important of all, have respect. Even when you're in the middle of a disagreement, you honor the other person's humanity. Without these three, none of the other techniques will work. But let's be realistic. Sometimes, even with our best efforts, trust gets broken. And when that happens, rebuilding, well, that takes a different, much more deliberate kind of work. It's not about navigating one fight. It's about reconstructing an entire foundation. And the cornerstone of that reconstruction is accountability. This is a critical distinction we all had to learn. Accountability is not an apology. An apology is a moment, a few words. Accountability is a process. It's the active, ongoing proof that you understand what you did and that you are committed to being reliable from now on. This says it all, really. You can't talk your way back to trust. You have to act your way back. Promises are meaningless without follow-through. Trust is really just a measure of reliability, and you can only prove that through consistent action, over and over and over, and it takes time. So what are those actions? First, you have to be an open book. Total transparency, no more secrets. Second, that relentless consistency we just talked about. Your actions have to line up with your words, every single time. Third, you create new boundaries, together. And this is not about punishment. It's about designing a new set of rules so that both people can feel safe again. And finally, slowly and gently, you start to rebuild that closeness, that intimacy that was lost. And here is the most important thing we ever discovered. These skills, using I feel statements, making requests, understanding accountability, they seem so small. They feel like they're just about stopping one argument with your partner. But they are the most powerful tools for change we have ever found. They don't just change a relationship, they completely rewire it. And when enough relationships get rewired, you break the generational cycles of conflict and trauma that hold entire societies back. Honestly, this is how we healed. So every single interaction you have carries this potential within it. Your very next conversation, no matter how small it seems, is a choice. You hold the blueprint. You have the tools. So are you going to build another wall, another battlefield, or are you going to build a bridge? The future really does depend on your answer.